Information architecture is a really important part of any web or app design project, but a lot of designers are scared of the term because it's kind of a fancy word for a concept that's fairly simple. So today we're going to break it all down using two real examples so that you can not only learn what information architecture is, but also have confidence in creating one yourself. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Maddie and I am a product designer and I make videos about design and productivity. So if you're into those things, hit subscribe. And without further ado, let's jump into this video, starting with a definition for information architecture. I would define information architecture as how content is structured within a system in order to help the user succeed. So let's break that down a bit further. When I say content, what exactly do I mean? Well, I mean information in the form of text, images, audio, or video, but I also mean tasks and actions that a user can take. So we know that users don't just go to websites and apps in order to take in information and kind of digest content, but they also have to take action in a lot of ways. Okay, now when I say structured, what exactly do I mean? I mean, how is the content organized or categorized? What labels are used? So what's the actual language? And what are the search functions like? How does someone search on the app or website? What can they search by? When I say system, I'm talking about the overall app, website, whatever interface we are working within. And many interfaces actually have multiple touch points. So we'll look at an example later, but you could have an app that integrates with a website, a mobile app that integrates with a web app. So that's the main system, but then even within the system, there are more specific contexts that are really important to define and be aware of whenever you are designing information architecture and later navigation. And lastly, when I say helping the user to succeed, here we're talking about the who. Who is coming into the system and what are their goals? Let's get more into this definition using two real-world examples, and then we'll go into talking about how to create an information architecture from scratch. Okay, the first example we'll talk about is Eventbrite. And if you're not familiar, Eventbrite is somewhere where you can go and look for events near you or virtual events that you're interested in, and you can also go on as an event organizer and host an event. So let's start with the system, since that's kind of the most overall broad portion of this definition. The system here is their website, eventbrite.com, and they also have mobile apps. So those are two systems that have to integrate with each other. So when you're going through the process of coming up with information architecture for this system, you have to make sure that it makes sense how the information overlaps and how a person can use both the website and the mobile app to reach their goals on each certain touch point. Next, let's talk about the user. So in this case, we have two main categories of users: people who want to join an event and people who are hosting an event. So we can call these attendees and hosts. Now let's talk about the content. So you can actually go to my Behance profile, which I'll leave a link in the description. And if you subscribe to my Behance profile, you can actually download this template on XD, and you can actually see this full tree or flow chart or information architecture map, whatever you want to call it, that I broke out. And you can sort of study that, but also you could use it as an example or a jumping off point for one of your own projects. So just wanted to throw that out there. Let's jump back in. So content for this, I'm just gonna pull out a few of the main things. The events and any information and specifications that go along with each event. So kind of like the event info, the when, where, and what. And that's usually text-based in this case. And a couple actions that users can take would be purchasing a ticket and then creating an event. And within the event creation flow, there's going to be tons more content and actions. Now let's look at how this is structured. So if we look at Eventbrite, there are a couple different ways that information is structured. We have search, browse by location, and categories. So here we have all, for you, online, today, this week, etc. So those are some different ways that someone could find the content that they're looking for. Okay, let's look at one more example that's a bit different. We're going to look at Loom. If you aren't familiar, Loom is a tool where you can record your screen and you can also record your voice and your face over top. So it's really good for asynchronous meetings and things like that. So the system here is they have a desktop app, a mobile app, and a Chrome extension. Their main users are split up into people viewing videos and people creating or recording videos. And I think a lot of times those overlap. So for me, I'm a user of Loom. I watch videos that my teammates send me, but I also send tons of videos that I've recorded myself. So examples of content here would be videos, comments. Sharing the video is an action, and other actions are recording, editing, commenting, and reacting. You can also see how many views your videos have gotten, so that's piece of information, and tons more. You can even break this out into like your account information, help docs. Like you can go really far with this, but a lot of times when you're working on a project and you're defining the information architecture, you are sort of thinking in one area. So maybe you're working on a specific use case or a specific action. There's ways to break this out that are huge webs of information, but you can also focus more specifically. So let's last talk about how this content is structured. You can see my videos sorted by the date you recorded them. There's also a search, so you can search for what you named the video, and I believe you can also search by date, and there are also folders that the user can organize their videos into, and those are just a few examples. So for those two examples, we were really working backwards, sort of looking at a system that already exists and pulling out the information architecture to understand it better. This is really valuable sometimes when you're trying to understand a certain product, but there are also going to be scenarios where you're starting completely from scratch and you need to define the information architecture as a starting off point. I go into this further in the first few episodes of my Behind the Design series, which I will link below. But essentially what you need to do is define these parts up front. Who are your users? What are their goals? What information and functionality do they need in order to succeed in those goals? Once you have all that down, you can determine the best ways to structure that content based on mental models. And if you're not familiar with the term mental models, it's basically how a user thinks something should work based on their past experiences. Users will form their mental models based on interactions with existing applications and websites, which is why it's usually not a good idea to reinvent the wheel. My advice would be to lay out all of the information and functionality that you've determined is important, and then move it around and start to categorize it. Of course, you can't just assume that the first way that you organize this information is going to be the best solution and super clear to all your users. So now is usually a good time to start testing. A couple user tests that you could conduct include card sorting and tree testing. Okay, now I think it's also important to talk about what comes after the information architecture, and that is designing the navigation. You may think these are one of the same, but they're not. Information architecture is the blueprint and navigation is the wayfinding. Think of the navigation as a video game and the information architecture as a list of all of the cheat codes. When you're actually in the video game, you can only see the current step that you're on, not the entire picture of what's there and exactly how to make it to the end. A video game would be no fun if you had all the cheat codes, but it also wouldn't be any fun if it was impossible or way too hard and frustrating to actually win. Point is, when you're designing the navigation based on the information architecture you crafted, you'll have to test that too to make sure that the users can move through the system without too much friction in order to meet their goals. Designing this navigation is more about the layout and where information and different functionalities are located. So think what's in the footer, what is in the header, are there links, is there a hamburger menu, where's the search bar, and how exactly does it function? All of this goes into designing the navigation based on your information architecture. All right, I really hope this was helpful, especially if you're new to UX. If you have any questions, please leave them below in the comments. If you like this video, feel free to check out my other designer's guides. I have them on top topics such as color, typography, and also psychology as it relates to being a UX designer. So feel free to check those out. They'll be linked below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!